Hello and welcome to the Quepper channel. I'm Jason, your host. I'm happy. Yes, the beef was very nice. I made sandwiches for me and Lula once it was cooked and it was awesome. Happy. I just wanted to talk about one of my videos that I did, just a little bit that got uploaded. It's the one about pet peeves about. I want to, while that video is completely valid, when I'm out on the Quingo, the mobility scooter, I'm even less focused on what I'm saying than anywhere else. So this wasn't me having a go at people. This was me trying to becoming very frustrated. And it's not just, it's happened all through my life. Now you may say, well, that's your problem then, Jason. No, it's not. Would you have a go at a person who's blind if they fell over in your room? Would you have a go at a person who's in a wheelchair because you had to move your table so that you could get through a door? Would you have a go at a paraplegic person if they needed some kind of changes made? I don't think you would. But hidden disabilities, depression, and yeah, depression can be a fucking disability. Anybody who's dealt with real depression knows how much it fucks you up. And autism and all these things, the others, are no less real and no less debilitating. Yes, some people manage to work with those problems. Some people manage to function better. This is why autistic spectrum disorder is an umbrella term. It covers the whole spectrum. Autism spectrum disorder. And even when you talk about bipolar type 1 and type 2, the different variations are almost infinite. The same with ADHD. And if you have one of these things and it has a comorbidity of the others, it isn't a little box here that says autism and a little box here that says ADHD and a little box here that says bipolar. They're all part of the same thing and they feed off each other. No persons that I ever saw dealing with this kind of thing had the same treatment, the same coping strategies, the same ways to deal with it. And not one of them had the same symptoms. I go the extra mile. I warn people beforehand. I let people know that I'm going to be blunt. I tell people, do not tell me and do not ask me a question if you don't want a fucking 20-page answer. And if you ask me a question, you've got to let me finish. You've got to let me continue talking about what you've asked me about until my brain says, okay, we can switch to another subject now. Because I don't fucking listen. I can't stop it. And if I see something wrong, if I see someone doing something stupid or silly or crazy, I am going to point it out that instant in public, right fucking there. Whether I'm in the middle of Tesco, whether I'm on a stage at Munchies, whether I'm out on the street. If I'm engaged with people and I haven't frozen up, it doesn't matter where I am. It doesn't matter what the social niceties are or rules of etiquette. My brain will scream, literally scream at me until I just say it. Getting it from inside here to outside here, the only way that I can deal with it. People will always take offense. People will always try to will take it personal. Not me on me, that's on them. Especially if I warned them beforehand. Oh my God, the amount of times I warned. I mean, people used to get bored. Well, not bored, but used to people say, why'd you keep talking about this? Why'd you keep talking about it? Because even though I fucking talked about it so much, the first time you do something like actually tell someone the fucking truth in public, and maybe, oh, I don't know, show them up when they do something stupid. Oh, just because you're disabled, you can't do that. I've dealt with this in college, in university. I dealt with it when I was younger. I remember I didn't get on well. I used to work at Etruscan. No, not Etruscan, that was a different one. I used to work at Trent Bathrooms, pottery firm. Doesn't exist anymore. I did a very weird job that was pretty much the only job that I could do at the time. I was working in a little office of computers. No, not of. There was computers there, but I was down the row, underneath it, in a little tiny. It wasn't a basement. It was like a basement, but it was on the second floor, and it was a place for fixing all these doodads at the factory. And that I was like basically spent most of my time just taking things apart and putting them back together and trying to get them work. Mostly trolleys and things and odd things that needed to be fixed, and that I was left alone. I could come in at 2 a.m. in the morning and not deal with anyone, and then go home at like 8 o'clock in the morning, and it was fun. Had your own issues, but I remember the one and only time I had my food with the rest of the people working there. Because the place had a wonderful cooking place where they would cook you egg and bacon sandwiches and everything in the morning, and oat cakes and wonderful stuff. It was amazing. And usually I'd just grab my food and go straight back down into my little hovel, away from everybody, with my bits and pieces where I could just be away from people. And I was happy. But one time I was in there and said, oh, you knew? No, I've been here for a while. Oh, why don't you come over and sit with us while we're having breakfast? And we're all sitting there around a table. This big table in this corner of the area that's been set up for people to eat at. There's probably about 20 people there at the table. And they all start talking about what they're going to do at the weekend. And so it's a big open air and there's lots of people here. And they started to talk about how they were cheating on their wives and their girlfriends, and they were covering for each other, and they were just talking out loud as if this was the most normal thing to talk about in the world. How that they were going out with their second girlfriend and thinking and laughing about how their wife at home has no fucking idea, and she's got to look after the kids, and I'll be off at the weekend. Really horrible misogynistic stuff, and how and it was like this whole there, and I stood up and pointed all this out to them. I couldn't stop myself. I didn't have a choice. Because of that, other things happened. I didn't do that for fun. I didn't do it because I was being an asshole. I didn't do it because it was the right thing to do. I was doing it because my brain was like, but you're with this person. And why are you with this person when you're doing what? My brain couldn't mesh anything that they were saying. None of it made sense. And that, so I pointed it all out to them. And you can imagine how badly that went down. The only thing I can relate to with a person that doesn't deal with this kind of stuff is, imagine whatever it is, if you've got an addiction, if you've got something that you really like, your favourite sport or your favourite thing, the kind of thing where you don't have a choice and you cheer them off and on in the middle of a lesson that you don't give a fuck you're going to say it, but it's even worse than that because you don't have an off button, you don't have a stop, you don't have a way to interrupt it. You can't fight it. It's gonna come out, and it's gonna come out instantly. And if you try to stop it, it destroys you. It physically and mentally destroys your brain. It's like it's the most. It's almost like my brain is punching itself over and over again. You know how I used to stop me doing it? Do you know how I used to stop me doing it when I was in college? I'll tell you. I used to give myself a dead leg. And I'm not talking about, I'm talking a dead leg that left bruises. Literally, if the lecturer said something about technology or about a programming language that I knew better than him, I knew thingy, and I had done stuff at home that was faster, more efficient. I just couldn't do the documentation for it. And I would be sitting there and I would be punching my leg over and over and over again to stop myself from saying anything. It's like when people say to you, you have to try harder. You can't do this. You've got to do it this way. I want to just grab them and say, hello. I've explained to you many times before that this can happen. And the fact that I can hold it in for just a tiny little bit shows that I am basically burning my willpower to keep it under control. And I will exhaust myself completely for days on end trying to do this. And I'm not the only one. People try. People with disabilities, they all have unique problems and challenges and things they can't do and red lines they can't cross. And because people don't see the issue, There's things I can change about myself. There's things I can work on. There's stuff I can try to intercept. But don't ever ask me to lie. Or say, there's a time and the place for that. If it comes to telling the truth, I don't have the time and the place. I don't have the choice. It's like when I'm talking with someone in Ting Chat and I interrupt someone, people think I'm being rude. But I'm actually not. I'm actually being attentive. Because what happens is this. Person will be talking about something, and I'm like, oh, that's important. I get that. That's awesome. I'd like that. And right at that moment, my brain will say, oh, I want to say something. That reminds me of something called that thingy. And I'm like this, waiting, raring to go. And if I don't say it at the moment, if I want to keep listening to this conversation, then I forget what I was going to say. It goes away. It's gone, lost in the moment. I have the choice between doing one or the other. It's frustrating. It's like I said, it's not the people that don't know. Because you can always teach, you can always explain, you can always show. You can try to get through. It's the people that say they understand, then they pick you up for it the first moment you do something that you've told them you're going to do. And judge you by the same thing as if, oh, well, we don't do that, therefore you shouldn't. That's the real stab in the back. That's the real ones that I can't cope with. So this is Jason for the Weather Channel.